ESPN's Mike Clay, at Mike Clay NFL on Twitter, joins us right now here on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, how you doing today?
Hey, doing good. A little exhausted, just grinding through through all the new information we got from week number 2, but looking forward to another good Monday night football game here, and it's a long slate. We have the extra game this year. It feels like a long grind going forward, but it's exciting to have real football back.
It's definitely exciting, and it's also exciting to see fans in the stands. But in Philadelphia, the fans got deflated, Mike, because it seemed like the Eagles couldn't get out of their own way yesterday. It seems to be a tale of two different offenses for the first 2 weeks of the season. What were your takeaways from Nick Sirianni and his offense after 2 weeks?
Yeah, so look, I think this is to be expected, right? You have a quarterback who played 3 full games coming into the season, now has 5 full games under his belt. You have a first-year head coach. You had a bunch of player personnel changes during the offseason, had a couple injuries during that game as well, and you were facing a good 49ers team. So, I don't think it's crazy to expect some ups and downs. They really were impressive in week 1. They played an inferior team. We didn't know they were inferior at the time, but clearly they were, as the Eagles had no problems with them, and then came back to earth a little bit here in week 2. But I feel more optimistic about the Eagles now than I did coming into the season. I think most would agree. The fact that you handled your business against a team like Atlanta and then went toe-to-toe with a team like San Francisco, who, look, coming into the season, granted, I was a little bit lower than the 49ers on some. I thought they were kind of in the 12 to 15 range in power rankings, whereas other people had them as high as like 5th. But anyway, the fact that they ran toe-to-toe with that team was a pretty good sign. So, so far, so good. You look around the division, the Cowboys are playing pretty well. They're playing better than expected defensively. Washington and the Giants, probably playing worse than expected on the defensive side of the ball. So they have a shot. The Eagles have a shot. The way they've played so far, it's very early in the season, but they're playing like a team that can compete. Obviously, losing Brandon Graham's big, but if Jalen Hurts plays at a high level going forward, the Eagles are going to be in the thick of it.
One thing with Jalen Hurts to say that to me, Mike, is the fact that he does go out of his way to not try turning the ball over. He throws the ball away. He tries to make the smart play. It seems like that is something that was missing from this team last year, considering Wentz was just a turnover machine. And it sounds kind of ridiculous saying it, but it's almost as if, Mike, if you just had a quarterback that didn't turn the ball over, this team would have a couple more wins last year.
No question about it. If you look at it, the NFL is a really hard game to predict. But if you know the turnover margin from a game, you could pick the winner pretty easily most weeks. That it's so important. It correlates so well with winning. You have to win the turnover margins. Coaches talk about it all the time for a reason, and it's legitimate. So that was a big problem for the Eagles last season. And if Hurts protects the ball well, they're going to just hang in games. We've seen that. I'm just trying to think of an example, like, say, Tyrod Taylor, right? He's been around for a long time, and when he has started, whether it was with Buffalo before the Josh Allen era, very briefly with Cleveland, now he's with Houston, his teams were never really great, but they just kind of hung in games all the time. Why? Because he did one thing extremely well. It was not turn the ball over, ever. Like, he was just unbelievably good at never turning the ball over, so he kept games close. And obviously, we saw the other side of that last year with Philadelphia, and potentially going forward here, if Hurts keeps possession of the ball, doesn't make bad throws, isn't afraid to throw the ball away, scrambles when at the appropriate times, doesn't fumble like Daniel Jones does so often, it's going to be really huge for this team. So we'll see if he can keep that going forward. He had the 9 fumbles last year, already has a couple this year, but has not thrown an interception yet, to your point. So, we'll see if he can do that when he has pressure on going forward.
You mentioned the pressure on him. What does it say to you that the 49ers only got 3 quarterback hits yesterday, that the Eagles' offensive line, for what some people perceive, seemed to hold up better than some expected?
Yeah, I was very high on the Eagles' O-line coming into the season, so I'm not shocked by that. Obviously, we have the injury now at guard, which is, concerning, but luckily he's not going to miss much time. So, once they get Brooks back in there, I'll feel even better. But, we know Mailata, he got the extension. He's playing at a high level. We know he and Johnson are very good. We know Jason Kelce is one of the best centers in the NFL, and when healthy, they have one of the better guard duos in the league as well. So, again, a healthy Eagles offensive line, considering the talent there, is one of the best in the league. I'm not shocked at all that they were able to hold up in a situation like that. Not to mention that you have you don't have a guy that's a statue in the pocket. If the pressure's coming, he can run, make some plays, and that's going to be huge for them going forward.
Mike Clay joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Mike Clay NFL on Twitter. You can catch all of his writing over on ESPN+. I'm telling you, folks, you want the ESPN bundle. It's well worth it. It's so inexpensive, and you get tons of content from ESPN+, including all of Mike Clay's analysis over there. Mike, I want to ask you about the NFC East as a whole. You now have 3 teams that are sitting at 1-1. The Eagles, the Cowboys, and Washington. And we know the Cowboys, Eagles, they play next week. The Eagles got Washington twice in the month of December. If you were to do like a macro on those 3 teams at 1-1, how do you lay them out?
Yeah, so I think looking forward right now, I actually have Washington. I do projections for the site, and that includes at the team level. I actually have Washington projected with the hardest schedule in the NFL moving forward. So that's something to think about. That might be problematic for them. Remember, they're utilizing their backup quarterback right now. They don't even have their number one. Fitzpatrick's going to be out for a while. Again, the defense is underwhelmed a little bit so far, so that doesn't really paint a great picture for them. Dallas, I think they're the favorite right now. Their offense is just so good. It's healthy now. They have if one guy is out like Michael Gallup, they have CeeDee Lamb, and they have Amari Cooper. He's a little beat up right now. They have Zeke, and Tony Pollard's probably outplaying Zeke at this point. The offensive line's great when healthy. So they're pretty stacked. And like I said before, their defense overachieving a little bit right now. They held Justin Herbert and the Chargers in check this past week, and that was pretty impressive. They went toe-to-toe with the Buccaneers in week 1 as well. So I think the Cowboys, a slight favorite. I think the Eagles, we just broke down, our second in line, Washington third. And then, don't forget about the Giants, honestly. Daniel Jones, I thought, played pretty well in that Thursday game against that Washington defense. And their offensive line has been a big problem for them. But if they can patch that together, and again, the defense comes around a little bit. There's a lot of talent on that side of the ball. They could be a sneaky name to keep an eye on. They're 0-2, but, they're only 1 game back, as we saw last season. You don't always need a lot of wins to win the NFC East. So we'll see how the Giants do here in the next couple of weeks.
When you think about, you mentioned the Cowboys, how they were playing offensively week 1, then they have played defensively week 2. Is in your mind, is that going to be the key? Because a lot of people could say, listen, some people are saying, did the Cowboys win the game or did the Chargers lose the game? Some people are saying they did a great job putting Micah Parsons as a blitzer in that game. Some people are saying, hey, Mike McCarthy was bailed out by Zerline because of the bad clock management. What is really the difference for you outside of Dak Prescott being healthy from last year to this year for Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, look, we saw them producing at an extremely high level in the first month last season. I mean, the Cowboys were going to be a problem last year before Dak went down. And I know their defense was playing pretty poorly last year, but their offense was just moving the ball at will. And the way that all played out, they probably would have won that division. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. So, you have that pretty much that whole offense back healthy this year. And look, coming into the year, I viewed Dallas as a team that had an elite offense and a very poor defense because they made a bit of a head scratcher, off-season decisions. They invested a lot in the linebacker position, and then we saw in week 1 them rotating the linebackers in and out. So you were putting all this investment in a position of where guys were just kind of standing around on the sideline quite often. And now you have some injuries too that they're trying to overcome, especially on the defensive line with Lawrence and Gregory and Gallimore. So. We don't know yet for sure. We just don't know for sure if this Cowboys offense is going to be average or poor or solid, and if it's really poor, that gives the Eagles and a team like Washington, maybe the Giants, a shot here. But if that defense plays average ball going forward and the offense is elite, it's going to be a hard team to beat. It really is, and by the way, we're going to see it this weekend. We're going to see these teams face off. I'm super intrigued to see. I think the matchup of the game is probably one people aren't thinking about at this second, but it's probably going to be Devonta Smith against Trevon Diggs. Diggs has shadowed Mike Evans and Keenan Allen in weeks 1 and 2 and has done a really nice job. He's on the verge of becoming one of the better corners in this league, bit of a breakout player so far this season. And I think he's going to shadow Smith, and that can neutralize him. And if it does, does Jalen Reagor step up on the other side? Can we get, some other big plays from the other receivers? Can the tight ends do more damage? Quez Watkins might be needed for another big play this week. So I'm really intrigued. This is going to be a big time showdown in this division, and honestly could be the difference maker when it comes down to it.
Couple more for Mike Clay from ESPN Plus, joining us right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, the NFC West, 49ers 2-0, but a ton of injuries. Rams, looking at how we expected of them. Cardinals, high-powered offense. Seahawks, weird game yesterday. Who should be the favorite in the NFC West?
Oh, man, that was one of the toughest questions to answer all offseason. You just kind of had to pick one or two from the group that you thought would be a little better, and then you had to take the heat from the fans of the ones you were against, because they weren't going to believe it. Fans of all four of those teams think they're going all the way this year. So, look, it is tough for sure. You have 3 2-0 teams already, and the one that's 1-1 is the team I thought was the favorite coming in. That's Seattle. So it is wide open. It's extremely hard for 4 teams from one division to make the playoffs, but we do have the extra wild card now, and these are 4 really good teams. So if anybody's going to break the mold, I suppose it's them. But look, I think right now I would give a leg up to the Rams. Matthew Stafford looks terrific, and the defense I thought might drop off a bit this year. They lost their coordinator, they lost some of their best players, Mike Brockers and John Johnson's one of the best safeties in the league. Troy Hill was a key piece last year. All those guys are gone. But they've been really good so far. They really have. So, we'll see how they do against Tampa Bay this weekend. But I think they're the favorite. The Cardinals could have lost on a field goal attempt this week. The Niners obviously are 2-0, and Seattle's right there. I mean, it is really wide open. It truly is. Could come down to some good luck, some bad luck. But I think the Rams right now have to be the favorite.
There are 2 teams in the AFC West that are 2-0, and it's not the Chiefs. It's not the Chargers. It's the Raiders and the Broncos. Which one of those teams can sustain their success better, Mike?
Yeah, so I saw a stat earlier. Adam Teicher, who covers the Chiefs for us here at ESPN, tweeted earlier it's the first time the Chiefs haven't been at least tied in first place in that division since 2016. That's insane. I mean, that's just crazy how long they've been that good. But nonetheless, Raiders and Broncos, I guess I'll roll with the Raiders. It's just the way they've been playing lately. I was higher on Denver than the Raiders coming into the season. Denver has one of the best defenses in the NFL on paper. We've seen that so far. Teddy Bridgewater's played pretty well. They're missing Jerry Jeudy right now, but he'll be back probably in a month or so, and that'll help that offense. But, impressed with what they've done. But the Raiders, I mean, to come out and they've missed on a lot of draft picks the past couple of years. They're getting very little out of those early round picks they spent on defense. Those guys are just not playing or healthy scratches, or the nickel corner, and yet they're playing at a high level. I mean, the offense was already really good last season, but this year the defense has done a nice job. They opened the season by beating Baltimore. They go toe-to-toe with them, win that game at home. 6 days later, they go to Pittsburgh. You're like, okay, this Steelers team just beat the Bills on the road, right? The Raiders on 6 days rest are going to get crushed. Not at all. I mean, they had no trouble with the Steelers. That was basically a 1-2 score lead throughout most of that game, and they handled their business. That was impressive. So the Raiders look really good right now. 2 impressive wins against the teams they beat had good wins the other weeks they played. So you can't ignore that. They've been progressively getting better, even though they've missed on a lot of acquisitions, especially in the draft the past couple of years. And maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the year they get into the playoffs and make a run at it. But I'll tell you what, the AFC West, really exciting division. You have the Chiefs, Justin Herbert and company. They're 1-1, but you have Herbert, you have a shot. Right? Brandon Staley's the defensive coordinator's done a nice job so far. That division, both Western divisions are going to be a lot of fun this year.
He is Mike Clay. Give him a follow on Twitter at Mike Clay NFL. Make sure you get ESPN Plus. Check out all of his prognostication, all of his analysis, all of his fantasy football breakdowns. It's all on ESPN Plus. Jump on that. Get the ESPN Disney Plus Hulu bundle. Do it all so you can get all the stuff there. And we always enjoy Mike Clay's analysis right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, always appreciate you jumping on.
All right, you got it. Have a good one.